Hello, hello. Okay, I might have to blow my nose because I'm doing a lot of nose blowing today. And take a drink of my coffee too. I don't know. I don't know. It's my favorite cup. I think I got it from my grandma. And she just had a lot of mugs. And I used it after I'd gotten it for her and I liked it. So I took it back, I think is how that goes. Because she wasn't using it. She likes tall, easier to hold stuff. As she's walking from the kitchen to like her chair. Okay, we're gonna do 10 minutes. We're starting on page 185. I already feel the sneeze. I'm gonna sneeze. Okay, here we go. As I roused myself from my reverie, I found Bulger sitting at my feet with his kind, lustrous eyes fixed full upon my face. He had read my thoughts as correctly and easily as I might find the words of a child's primer. And he saw that I was wide awake and in full possession of my faculties. He seized hold of my sleeve and whined most piteously. Dear faithful animal, oh, that I had heeded thy remonstrance, but no, it was not to be. Unwilling to fret and worry good Bulger, I now resolved to make use of a faculty which had no place in his nature, namely hypocrisy. When he was in my presence, I pretended to be perfectly happy and contented, moving about, laughing, singing, and dancing. But the very moment he had quitted the room, I set to work making ready for another journey. At last all was ready. When Bulger entered the house and set eyes upon packages and boxes, he lifted his head and gave one long dismal howl of entreaty. But seeing that my purpose was fixed, like a true and faithful servitor, he bounded to my side and licked my outstretched hand, as much to say, Thy road is my road, thy fate is my fate. In a few hours we were on our way to the seaboard. My heart was light, my spirits buoyant and gay. What is life? I cried. Am I a worm to vegetate in mold and darkness? Nay, I am a creature of intelligence, of mind, of soul. The air, the sunlight, the boundless universe are mine. I will enjoy them. Luckily, I had not long to wait in the seaport, for a good, staunch vessel was nearly loaded. Learning that she was bound for the Southern Ocean, I at once ordered my effects to be set on board, and before the new moon had lost its crescent, I was on the high seas with my faithful Bulger by my side, and a bounding heart beating joyful music in my breast. For a while all went well. Bulger seemed to have gotten over his strange presentiment of evil, and romped about the deck with his old-time love of mirth and jollity. But upon me, however, after our good vessel was a few days out, there came a strange feeling never experienced before. In my dreams, light and darkness alternately oppressed me. The one more dazzling than the electric flash, the other deeper than earthly night. Our 7th day out at high noon, suddenly it seemed as if some mighty hand had drawn a vast and impenetrable curtain of inky blackness over the entire sky. It almost appeared as if some terrible demon of the skies had suddenly blown out the very sun itself. Bulger with one bound, gained my side, and fastening his teeth in my sash, moaned piteously as was his custom when he thought my life in danger. I stooped and stroked his head. The palm of my hand felt the hot tears that were streaming from his eyes. Just then the vessel gave a lurch, and Bulger's weight tore his teeth from their hold in my sash, and in an instant he was separated from me. I heard his supplicating bark in a distant part of the ship. "Bulger, here, here," I cried. "Here, this way, to me, to me." And in my desperation at thought of losing my loved companion, I darted in the direction of the barking, regardless of the black night which enveloped us, and stumbling over some object, fell headlong on the deck. My fall stunned me. I rose upon my elbow and passed my hand over my eyes, like a person just waking from a deep sleep. Sulphurous flames now darted from the four quarters of the heavens, and crash upon crash of deafening thunder rattled and pealed over our heads. A terrific blast of wind caught up our ship like a cockle shell and hurled it along through the seething, bubbling, maddening waters at such a fearful rate that every instant it seemed as if she must go to the bottom. I know not how long we were driven along at this furious speed, for I was half dazed by the roar of the warring elements and blinded by the continuous flashing of the lightning. To my horror, the sound of terrible blows, dull but awful in their energy, now fell upon my ears. We had struck upon the rocks, and our ship was pounding out her own life beneath my very feet. Instinctively I called upon my faithful Bulger, but not the voice of brazen throat and lungs could overcome the din of that tempest. The intense darkness was now dissipated by showers of meteoric fire, which fell like 10 times 10,000 bursting rockets as far as the eye could reach, and then deep rifts broke in the inky mantle of the heavens, and showers of hailstones, each as large as a goose egg, rattled with fury of musketry upon the deck. At that moment a lurch of the vessel had rolled me under a huge copper kettle, or my life would have been beaten out of me. "Farewell, dear Bulger," I cried in a tear-strangled voice. "This terrible discharge from heaven's frozen artillery will surely end thy life. Farewell, faithful dog, a long farewell." Gradually, this terrifying shower of huge hailstones lessened its fury, and strange to say, in doing so, the falling stones drew most wonderful music from the great copper kettle which covered me like a huge buckler. The wind moaned a deep bass, and the pounding of the vessel kept time like some gigantic drum. Although half dead with fear, I listened with ecstatic pleasure to this awful concert played by the warring forces of nature. When it had ceased, I looked out from my hiding place. Not a living soul was in sight. Every seaman and officer had perished beneath the strokes of the lightning, been crushed by the fall of hail, or swept by the restless gale into the seething ocean. So calm did it grow that I was beginning to take heart, when a terrific swish and whir, as if slit by some gigantic knife, the clouds parted, and from the rent rushed blinding drifts of snow, with such a wild and startling sweep and whirl that my knees smote together, and I fell upon my face in utter despair. But look, had heaven slain the monster of the storm? The snow was blood red. The sight froze the very marrow of my bones. I rolled over upon my back. My senses fled. Death seemed to have overtaken me. How long I lay in this stupor I know not, but when I woke the storm had spent its fury. The sun was sending down its brightest rays. The air was pleasantly cool and bracing. Slowly my strength came back to me, and I emerged from my hiding place, crawling on my hands and feet, for I was too weak to stand upright at first. Little by little, however, I took heart, and as I felt my blood go tingling through my veins, I made an effort to rose to my feet. Yes, my worst fears had been realized. Not a living being had survived the storm. As I walked upon the blood-red snow, every footfall brought forth most piteous sighs and groans. What dread warning, thought I, does this mysterious murmuring give me? What is the meaning of these sobs and moans which issue from these crimson vessels beneath the pressure of my feet? Am I walking upon the blood of my ancestors? Clinging to the frozen sheets, I crept slowly along the red-encrusted deck. But stay, hark! Are my ears playing me still more fantastic tricks? No, I'm wholly and entirely myself now, and as sure as the blood of the trumps courses through my veins, that bark came from my faithful dog. No, I'm wholly and entirely myself now, and as sure as the blood of the trumps coursed through my veins, that bark came from my faithful dog. Bulger lives, I cried out in accents of the wildest joy, and breaking away from the hold of fear and trepidation, I rushed boldly forward, calling out, I'm coming, Bulger, I'm coming. With reckless courage, I sprang from one frozen plank to another until I stood upon the quarter-deck. There, upon the hatch, sat, or rather lay, Bulger, for his life was almost extinct. His teeth were locked upon the straps of a life-preserver which he, ever thoughtful of my safety, was about to bring to me at the first outbreak of the storm, when its fury forced him to seek refuge under a water cask, as his tracks on the snow indicated. Well, it finally gets interesting. Okay, we'll start there tomorrow. So that's page 188. Very interesting. Oh, you know what? I could do that probably. I can. 188. Quit procrastinating on anything and everything. Time wasted is just that, wasted. Avoid distractions and the noise around me. Block it out. The art of continuous self-love through food, through water intake, through intentional meditation and thought. Something inside of me is superior to circumstance. Is it kind? Is it true? Does it reflect my authentic self? Focus more on money and its education. Focus more on self-discipline. See the sun, honor the moon. Forward momentum. The path out of hell is through misery. Honor my journey. We are slaves to our own incessant urges to escape the present moment. Meditate, walk, journal, stretch, love animals, leave life to wonder all it needs. Less stress, more fairy tale. Work on bettering the love I show my body through the food and beverage I put in it. With money, it's not what you make, but what you keep. Focus. Lose any ties to victim mentality. Continue to love yourself. My nose is running. Okay. We will start there tomorrow.